de tout reprogrammer. On ira, on saura sauver notre existence, se donner une chance de tout effacer. On ira, on saura sauver notre existence pour refaire un monde sans danger. Comme tout reprogrammer, comme Lyoko.
Hello and welcome back, fifth time's the charm, to Return to the Past, a Code Lyoko retrospective, the internet's premier Code Lyoko podcast, because we are the first and the only and the best. And what a run it's been. If you guys haven't noticed, and maybe this will be news to you guys, we are now up on iTunes.
Woo!
Yay.
Yay!
Okay, David, I'm going to need you to try that again.
Yeah!
Oh yeah,
Okay.
that's
How's
right.
that?
Forgot to do introductions. Actually, you guys go first. I need a second to think.
Okay. Alright, see, we take our jokes very seriously here at Return to the Past. At any rate, I'm David, and I promise I won't make you fall in love with me, and then turn out to be an anti-Semite.
I'm Ben, and I am not an FDA-approved part of a balanced breakfast.
I'm Mary, and
And you have the cutest dimples.
Oh, Jesus!
Oh. I'm Mary, and I couldn't think of a joke, so David stepped in with a compliment and made Ben.
And first of all,
uncomfortable.
I am going to go down there, and I'm going to show you my dimples. I want you to know that my dimples are adorable as bleep, okay?
I will admire them adequately.
Okay.
I don't know.
Came to a nice, peaceful resolution.
I don't know. I think my dimples are better.
Yeah, they are better.
Oh,
Have
Jesus.
Ben,
They're-
have your dimples been admired were your dimples admired in the first 5 minutes of your life?
Probably.
Well, I
I
know
don't-
it was a definitely for me. So
I don't recall my birth.
I've been hearing this story all my life. I have paid my dues and
Okay.
and such. I know for a fact that I have the cutest dimples.
Okay, well.
You guys want to hear a story about when I was born?
Sure.
It's a true story. This actually happened. When I was fresh out of the bag, so to speak, and the doctor slapped me on the ass to make me cry, I wouldn't cry. So he had to slap me on the ass repeatedly until I did cry.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. So my
Nice.
very first experience as part of this world was being beaten by a strange man.
Oh, sounds fair enough.
Okay.
I was born without nipples. They grew in later. Like my mom just walked in one day and I had nipples. But I was born without nipples.
Well, now I think you have too many.
Yeah, they don't stop coming. I just every morning I look down and there's another nipple.
And the nips start coming and they don't stop coming.
You beat me to it! I was gonna say, they call your nipples smash mouth because they don't stop coming. Yeah.
So you guys,
You may be wondering
this
why
episode
we
of Code Lyoko that we're about to watch.
Yeah. Yes. Hello.
You may be wondering why we're making so many jokes, and that's because this episode was very low, I thought, on entertainment value.
Really?
Yeah.
I thought it was all right. Well, I guess it was kind of mediocre.
I thought it was,
Eh.
not like a bad, but like a meh.
Better
You know.
than Holiday in the Fog, right?
Yes.
Yes, very much so. It raises a lot of interesting questions. Just to go back to the iTunes bit for a second, that means I can finally say that seminal podcast phrase, if you'd like to do us a favor, you can like, review, and subscribe to us on iTunes, because that will move us up in the podcast ratings, and then more people will be able to listen to us and get to know us and hear brilliant comedy like what you just heard.
The entire world needs to know about my nipples.
Yes.
It is your moral prerogative to like and subscribe. Wait, no, we don't say like and subscribe on iTunes, but to review and subscribe.
Wait, you're right, there are no likes on iTunes. Rate, review, and subscribe.
Well,
Rate,
you can
review,
like
and
us
subscribe.
anyway on the inside.
Yes,
Turn
Yeah. Please like us. That's all that we crave is your validation.
it very much is. So, Big Bug, this is another one of those episodes that's...
It's not
Sure.
about a bug, big or
not about a
otherwise.
bug.
There are no insects whatsoever, by the way.
I believe if there was an insect, they would have to animate it, and then they might have gone over budget. This is not the animation in this episode is not great.
I
It
did
looks
notice
pretty
that.
bog standard.
It's bog standard, but then also there are very few people in the episode. Have you noticed? Like, the campus is almost empty except for the principal
notice
players.
that. I did.
But we do see Millie and Tamia again.
Exactly, which I think this is the first time we've seen them since Teddy Godzilla.
That
which
is.
fitting because, like, the first minute and a half is kind of a retread of the themes we see in Teddy Godzilla. Also, I have to point out that Tamiya's little rant here in the beginning about how her mom won't let her wear a crop top. It's amazing how this has come full circle because she's talking about how it's the latest style. And in 2003, it was. But then...
Everyone...
Are crop tops not a thing anymore?
Well, for like 8-10 years they weren't, and then they came back. So this has all come full circle.
Huh. Okay.
Yep.
That's neato.
Everybody shows their navel these days, Mom!
Exactly. Also, what's Tamiya's mom doing dictating her style of dress if Tamiya lives at the school?
I know,
Does
right?
Tamiya live at the school? I don't think we've ever seen her dorm. We've seen
Technically-
Millie's dorm.
I guess I always presumed they were roommates.
I mean, we see Tamiya, like, taking a shower there.
You're
Oh, we
right.
do. Maybe she just takes her showers there. Yeah.
That seems like kind of a weird thing. If you had a shower at home, you had a choice between showering at home and showering at school, where would you shower?
Well,
Oh,
what if
yeah.
this is just after Holiday in the Fog? So she's just coming back from the holiday.
That's a fair
could be.
point. You make a salient point there, David.
Oh, continuity.
Either way, continuity. Yes. Either way, in keeping with the
Wait,
themes of-
hold on. I missed my shot. I was gonna say, what's the thing? It was like, but hey, it's just a theory. You know? Like, Matt Pats.
I can edit that back in.
Well, yeah, leave it alone. It's fine.
Okay. Well, in keeping with retreading the themes of Teddy Godzilla, Sissy approaches them, or actually no, they see Ulrich walking by, and they just start falling over each other.
Oh, Millie's like... Millie said something that really speaks to me on a personal level. She says something to the effect of, how is it fair that he can be that handsome? Because that is absolutely what I feel every time I see a pretty boy, is how is that fair? You know,
I told you, Ben. I'm spoken for.
Damn it! I'm gonna keep trying.
Did I kill the mood?
You are both
I think I
already
killed
very handsome. You have nothing to be jealous of.
I can be jealous of just about anything.
Either way.
Anyway,
well,
so
speaking
they're
of
all
jealous,
fawning over Ulrich.
and then Sissy comes up and reiterates, "You guys are way too." It's a great line.
It's so mean though, because last time Millie and Tamiya kind of got in her grill, if you will, but this time she just approaches them unprovoked and starts picking on them.
Exactly. She is straight up being a bully here, and she's like, "Aren't you a little wet behind the ears to be looking at boys?"
As if she's not like 12 or whatever.
Well,
Yeah, she's like
you
a
do
year
feel that
older.
way when you're young, you know? If you're 8, you think a 7-year-old is a baby, and that a 9-year-old is a grown-up. That's just how it
Yeah.
is.
No, that's very, very true. So Sissy, Herb, and Nicholas are picking on. Actually, Herb is pretty much silent.
Well, he has a moment in the end of the episode.
Well, yes, he does. But here, Nicholas is the one who speaks up here.
There is one thing that I noticed about Nicholas in this scene, just as a side note. One of his socks is short, and the other one is very, very tall.
You're
Really?
right.
I didn't notice that. Is he always like that, or just in this one episode?
I guess I've never paid enough attention to his socks, so I guess we're just going to have to keep an eye out. We're going to have to do sock watch.
Sock watch.
You know who I
that's
think
our new
has-
segment.
You know who I think has probably paid attention? The creator of Naruto.
Oh, absolutely. Oh.
Get it?
Are we
Get
just
it?
going to mention his foot fetish every episode now?
Yes,
When the occasion arises, sure.
absolutely.
When the occasion arises.
Oh.
Huh? What?
Don't worry about it. Moving on.
Are we doing an erection joke? Is that what this is?
Oh.
I,
No, you can't say that on the radio.
I'm
You don't
sorry.
say it on television.
It wasn't clear enough. You can't get away with that. It's the pun just wasn't there.
I thought it was there.
You can't refer to a dick as an occasion. Well, I guess maybe you can. I don't know.
The phrase "rise to an occasion" is a well-noted poetic euphemism for, pitching a tent. So,
Guess I
A
kind of
euphemism for a euphemism.
yeah, I'm good like that.
Wonderful. Speaking of raging teenage hormones, let's see. I don't quite remember the thread of conversation, but I know that it ends with Sissy deciding that she's going to show Millie and Tamia how it's done, and she's just gonna seduce Ulrich on the spot. And Ulrich, you may not happen to be walking by, and she just starts, I guess the best word is negging him?
No, I don't think that's negging. Negging is when you, act mean in order to make the other person want to gain your approval. Which isn't a real thing, by the way.
Well, she says something like, when are you going to realize that you like me, or something.
Yeah, but that's not negging. Negging would be something like, wow, Ulrich, you've put on a little weight, haven't you?
Wow, how can you just not fall over yourself when you hear something like that?
I know, right? Odd says something like, well, what do you know? It's misconceited in person. She says, nobody asked you, creep. Which I thought was very entertaining, because I ship them.
I do.
You ship them? Really?
Yes.
Yes.
I'm revolted by the very idea.
Uh-oh, ship wars are raging here at Return to the Past.
I'm loading up my cannon with one N.
Odd and Sissy?
Uh-huh.
Yeah, I don't like Odd and Sissy. I don't think they'd make a good couple.
Well, I mean, they need to take a lot of character development, but I think at least the character development would be very interesting, even if they just end up friends. I mean, clearly here, they're being completely awful to each other. That's essentially what this whole thing is. It's these two groups of kids just being absolutely awful to each
This
other.
entire episode. And at first, I'm like, why are these kids being so awful to each other? But then I remember they're in middle school,
Yeah.
I mean, who isn't awful in middle school?
That's very true. It's like it's the first moment when you realize just how awful you can be.
Well, I didn't realize how awful I was until years later, looking back on it, Kind of think back on all the immature things you did and feel a little cringy about it.
Yeah, in the moment, you really justify yourself. At least from Sissy's perspective, she feels like she's the one being attacked. Even though she just went up and started antagonizing Millie and Tamia for no reason.
This is getting way too really, guys. It's bringing back some painful memories.
Well, first of all, we need to be prepared for the reality that as we watch these children go through middle school, that's probably going to happen from time to time.
It is. No, I'm thinking back to my own middle school experience and trying to remember these things. Although it is pretty hazy for me still. Maybe it'll come clearer as we go. So yeah, eventually they just Sissy just kind of storms off in a huff and takes her cronies with her. Or no, before she does that, she says, I know how you look at me when I'm not around, Ulrich. And she runs off, and then Ulrich says, she's delusional.
Wait, I've seen how you look at me when I'm not around?
When
they're not around. Yeah.
When their friends aren't around. Lo siento. Okay.
But that's not... Do you think Sissy believes that?
I'm not sure.
Sometimes you tell yourself you believe things because you want to believe them.
Or maybe she's trying to, subconsciously influence him into it. Either way, she steps off. They, sort of laugh the situation off and try and reassure Millie and Tamia. And Yumi gives Ulrich a meaningful look, as if she admires this.
And then, she turns right around and blows him off to go hang out with Jeremy in his dorm. And she closes the door behind her.
Yeah.
Oh, yes. A boy and a girl alone with a closed door. Like we've mentioned in other episodes.
What would Mike Pence think of that?
I was waiting.
A man and a woman making decisions?
Unthinkable.
Who knew this was such a revolutionary concept?
Well, this is France. You know how they are over there.
That's very true. All their so either way, they're just sort of hanging out in there, and Jeremy is showing her the program that he's working on, which even at the time sounds very silly.
Well, given how big the internet is, there's no way a program like that could ever work.
Right. What it is sort of an information, or it's a disaster rating program, which apparently arbitrarily assigns ratings from 1 to 10 for disasters, just to sort of alert them if there might be a XANA attack, which is a very convenient thing, but I don't know how it could possibly work unless there was some sort of subjective judgment going on.
Maybe he was talking about the Richter scale, like in case of an earthquake.
Maybe, or maybe it's supposed to pick up certain keywords, and certain keywords have a certain danger value.
That could be.
Let's not worry about it.
We're not supposed to worry about it.
Yeah, it makes no sense, and also it never shows up again. I do want to point out that he says it attaches itself to a website or information network, if you know.
Oh yeah,
that was. They act in this entire show. They act so weird about the internet. As if they're pretending that they're not talking about it. But for the longest time, they would not use the word internet.
Yeah,
they would insist on, what was it?
The
worldwide network. Yeah.
Yeah. Did they think internet was a copyrighted word?
The thing is, for a while, it was.
It was?
Like in its absolute earliest days, it was. I think so. Don't quote me on that.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, that's why we capitalize internets. Not anymore. Like the Oxford has changed the rules. But
wow, I did not know this thing.
Like I said, though, that's just something I heard. It's not something I know firsthand. So look it up, kids.
I wouldn't doubt it. Either way, at that point, Yumi seems kind of distracted. Jeremy asks what's on her mind while sort of kicking back lackadaisically, and she asks, it's about Ulrich. Do you think he likes Sissy?
You know, something, I know that we joke about this, the very early on, they tried to make Jeremy, Yumi this shippy kind of thing. I think this is actually a very nice scene in the sense that we get...
Oh, yes, it's absolutely wonderful.
A true and unique friendship with just the two of them.
Yeah,
because they're always this ensemble, right? We see Ulrich and Odd together, and I do want to point out, by the way, that in direct parallel to this scene with Jeremy and Yumi, they have Ulrich and Odd together. What does that imply?
There isn't really the same sort of...
there is in my heart.
Although...
There is in my heart.
Maybe... We're kind of jumping the gun by assuming that they're trying to get us to ship Yumi and Jeremy, because...
I'm only thinking ahead to Image Problem. If not for Image Problem, I would never have had that thought.
But think about it. Like, Yumi asks Jeremy if he thinks Ulrich likes Sissy, and you wouldn't say that to somebody that you have a crush on.
That's very true.
So maybe they are just friends, and that's okay.
Maybe
they are.
Like I said,
either
it never
way,
really came to anything.
I wish we would have... Because I'm not sure that we see that kind of interaction later in the series.
We don't.
I don't think we do.
Like, and I'm not even just talking about Jeremy and Yumi, just like any two of them, it's always this ensemble group, which is nice. I'm not saying I don't like it, but I like seeing the person-to-person interaction too.
Yeah, like I feel like one thing I noticed sort of a few years ago, Aelita and Ulrich never get much one-on-one time.
They don't. I don't think they've ever been just together alone outside of Lyoko. Together alone. Welcome back to our Steven Universe podcast.
Yeah, it's like Frodo and Legolas, who I don't think ever interact with each other.
I remember seeing stuff like that. It's just
yeah, I think we're both mentally recalling the same gift set on Tumblr, which of course is how I am aware of pretty much anything in culture these days is through gift sets on Tumblr.
I haven't seen this gift set. What's it like?
Well, it's just, it's a scene where Frodo, I think he's like waking up from, having carried the ring to the mountain, and, that was obviously a very harrowing experience, and I watched the movie years ago and forgot it and rewatched it, but basically it was, he's greeting all the people who were at his bedside, and he greets them all by name, except for Legolas.
Oh, yeah! I haven't seen the set, but that is a thing that happens.
Yeah.
That's funny.
Because he doesn't know him.
Or maybe he's just stunned by Orlando Bloom's ethereal beauty, because I would be in that context.
No, am I kidding? So would I.
Well, I mean, me too. His long, elfy hair.
Welcome to our Orlando Bloom podcast.
Look with your elf eyes.
Do you know how many times in our tabletop game we say that we have a half elf character, and every single time, Canavar, what do your elf eyes see?
Wait, if he's half elf, is only one of his eyes an elf eye?
That's a really good point that you make, because in my tabletop group, I play a half elf with one eye. Is my eye the elven eye or the human eye?
Oh, interesting.
Does he have only one long ear and one normal ear?
No, he's got both ears. They're both pointy.
No, that's a little disappointing.
I'm sorry.
I think it's a more organic scale. Some half elves look more elf than human. Some half elves look more human than elf. Anyway, moving on to the scene with Ulrich and Odd. They're just kind of chilling in their room and feeding Kiwi, and they're just kind of goofing around, and then Ulrich has an idea, an awful idea.
It really is an awful idea.
Awful idea.
Like I said,
but really, it's awful.
This is probably the most cruel we will ever see the Lyoko warriors be, to the point where
I'm willing to defend them a little. Because Sissy was being a bully to Mia, and their stated purpose is to teach her a lesson.
It is to teach her a lesson. At the same time, though, it seemed like a punishment way too strong for the crime.
Was it that strong, though? Well, first of all, let's describe what it is.
It is. So what they do is, apparently because texts aren't attached to names and there's no contact information in this world, they send Sissy a text and say something like, "You're the girl of my dreams, I can't resist you, meet me at the garden shed." And Sissy assumes it's from Ulrich, and she starts getting gussied up and heads for the aforementioned garden shed. But we don't get back to her for a little bit.
I always presumed, and they don't say this, but I always presumed that either she just didn't have Ulrich's number, or she didn't have, or Odd texted her and she didn't have Odd's number, and she just presumed that this unknown number was Ulrich.
Right.
But hey, it's just a theory.
We need to record you doing that, and just make it like a sound effect that we can throw in.
No,
like a
okay.
button.
Yes,
I'm down
absolutely.
for that.
Although it is easier for you to just say it rather than to splice it in later. Just pointing that out.
Alright,
well... Oh, I was looking for like a David soundboard with... You press different buttons and you've got different quotes. Like, here's one for, it's on Tuesdays on Fox, and here's one for it. Yeah, oh well.
I mean, that would be great, but I don't have a sound.
Although, fun fact, Code Lyoko was never actually on Tuesdays on Fox. And now you know.
How about that? It was on every day a week on Cartoon Network.
That reminds me. Actually, no, never mind.
We step away from her for a moment, and we go to Lyoko because, just as Jeremy was talking about, a big disaster is happening. And in fact, this is probably... It's definitely ranks up there on one of the more disastrous disasters, but at the same time, we don't really see much in the way of its effects. We do get a really cool visual of all these little lines of information intersecting and all these voices talking over each other and panicking.
That reminds me, have you noticed that when Aelita appears on Jeremy's computer, the background is exactly the same as the raining text from The Matrix?
Yes, I have noticed that.
Yep.
We haven't acknowledged that, so I figured we might as well.
Well, now we have acknowledged it, and yes, it is 100% true.
And something, so the disaster that we're about to find out, and they mention it in the form of like a newscast. Well, no, it's all these people talking about, all the traffic lights are out, and all the air traffic controllers aren't responding. Which, just sidebar here, okay, why has XANA not been doing this literally the entire time?
That's the eternal question.
Because this is the quintessential computer-based attack. He has essentially shut down literally everything that is computerized in the entire country. They mention later that no alarm systems are working, so there's mass looting. It's just, really, people? Like this, you just throw this kind of together like an afterthought in one of your B-list episodes?
Yeah.
When you think about it, he doesn't have to do anything except that. He could just shut down the internet and the world would destroy itself. He doesn't need to commandeer a train.
He does several things in this episode. They mention the alarm system. They mention the stoplights. They mention, the train conductor control. He could do one of those things at a time each episode, and it would still be fresh enough, and it would still be disastrous.
What if
right? And
what if the writers had these separate ideas for episodes, but they could only make one episode? They just put it all in one.
Hey Mary, do you know who wrote this episode?
It was Alain Serlupus. He wrote a few season 1 episodes, but not very many.
Okay, well, I see why.
Yeah. But the biggest threat that they present is that there are 2 trains, both completely automated with no passengers, which I didn't know that was a thing.
Oh, Mary. You said there are 2 trains, and immediately I flashed back to, like, middle school math classes. Like, a train
Oh my goodness.
I felt a sudden surge of panic. I'm so glad we're only talking about Code Lyoko.
Oh yes, where the trains aren't real and the points don't matter.
So anyway, there are trains, yeah.
One of them is carrying some kind of toxic chemicals, and they're on a collision course. And the interesting thing about this is, one, that this is presented as the immediate threat, when the air traffic control thing I think would be a lot more serious.
Yeah.
Yeah, like, as I wrote in the notes, potentially thousands probably died in the first few seconds of this.
Oh! They couldn't come back! They couldn't... So, there's an episode in the Code Lyoko universe where lots of people just drop dead out of nowhere.
Well, we don't technically know that because they don't actually mention plane collisions.
They don't. Maybe they just sort of hung out up in the sky.
Yeah, because planes can they put on their brakes and they stopped moving, right?
Yes.
Yeah, you turn on the air brakes. And,
what do you know?
Fine.
Out of gas.
You know how it is with these A cards.
Oh, boy.
I don't know that one.
Either way, just as this is happening, Jeremy launches his program, and then he sees as, which one of you mentioned the news broadcast?
Me.
As Ben mentioned, we see the newscast where they mention the threat from the trains, and Jeremy, to his credit, is like, well, okay, time to go to Lyoko.
As a side note, it is something of a novelty. Not every computer can out-of-the-box access television like that, like live television, especially because streaming was definitely not a thing in 2003. Jeremy has this functionality not only on a supercomputer, but also his personal computer at home, or in his dorm. So I just think that's something to take note of, because that would have been something of a marvel at the time.
Right. He has a good, robust news feed going, which makes perfect sense. Makes a heck of a lot more sense than this disaster awareness program.
Yeah, absolutely. You can just watch the dang news.
Yeah. Also, it says they're considering an evacuation, which I guess the train collision must not be local, because there is, again, no action taken by anyone in the real world. Most of the real world stuff is taken by the B plot, which, speaking of...
Which one is the B plot? Is that the... Oh, is that the prank?
Yeah, the prank. The prank.
You spoke in film major terms for a second tonight, and I had to catch up with you.
Everyone knows what a B plot is.
I maybe did not. I mean, I don't know it offhand. I can deduce it from, context, but...
Well, either way, here's the prank, which is basically Sissy opens the garden shed door, probably expecting a steamy makeout session, and instead Kiwi jumps on her.
and licks her all over, and makes her fall down, as a matter of fact.
Makes her fall down,
I guess,
and then Ulrich and Odd come out and laugh at her and mock her.
which is not fun.
Well, I mean, it's not that bad. It's just, just a little dog. It might even be kind of fun,
Well, it just...
It seems like a pretty harmless prank to me.
I think it affected Sissy quite a bit, because for a while she can't really. She just sort of. I mean, she's laying down and she's so upset she's not even talking, which is saying something for Sissy. Eventually, like at the very end, she says, "You'll pay for this," but that's pretty much all she says. She, as Odd and Ulrich are laughing at her, she's just lying on the ground looking up at them. And I think that in Sissy language, not speaking, I mean, you've got to have done something pretty big for her not to say anything.
But Ulrich and Odd couldn't have known that it was going to affect her that much, though.
I don't think they did. I mean, I feel like Ulrich and Odd don't really think of Sissy as someone capable of doing good. At least not at this point.
Feeling emotions.
Or having feelings, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, later on, I think it gets instilled in them that if given the opportunity, Sissy does have that ability and does have that character development. But at this point, I think they're still just being too dumb preteens about it.
Well, it wasn't... I wouldn't have done it. But as a prank, it seems pretty harmless.
I guess so. I think I just sort of felt, betrayed by my heroes. All the ways they could have handled that.
I like I said, I think that, but at the same time, they're in middle school, and I try to tell myself that this is a very immature middle school thing to do. That said, it's not like they dumped a bucket of pig's blood on her or something. So,
oh yeah, that's very true. I mean, yes, on a sliding scale of fictional pranks, this is pretty tame. She's not physically harmed.
Yeah,
and maybe they'll get a laugh out of it, and either way, it's reversed in the end. And then replaced with something worse, but... moving on, what she does is...
What's weird is that, in the end, it does indeed get replaced with something worse. But they try to... the episode tries to portray it as better. They even play, this touching music, oh, look, it's all good.
That is something I wanted to mention. I'm not sure. They have this music that plays a couple times in the episode with that guitar.
Yes.
Do we hear that again? It sounds unique to me, because there are other lovey music songs that they play in the background, but that one I think was unique. I didn't recognize it.
I didn't recognize it. Oh, I just remembered looking at my notes. The dumbest thing about this scene: they get a call from Yumi telling them to go to Lyoko.
Oh yeah.
And they just don't answer. They're like, she's gonna ruin the prank. Let's turn off our cell phones.
I think we should make clear here, of all the times that they use their cell phones, I'm pretty sure at least 95%, maybe even 100% of the time that they use those phones is for Lyoko-related reasons, as far as what we see them.
Forget the prank. This is the biggest departure from, I think, their mindsets in the entire thing. If Yumi's calling... 9 times out of 10, she's going to say, XANA attack, get to the factory.
In later seasons, they text SOS XANA, which was one of my ideas for the name of the podcast, by the way.
Oh, they have SOS XANA in here, too.
Oh, they
yes,
do?
They do. Yeah.
In fact, we see it explicitly, SOS XANA, and then it's signed J.
I must have been looking away at the time, because I don't remember that at all.
Way to be, David.
I'm sorry.
David, it's okay. I miss things about things I watch 100% of the time.
Well, point is, they don't pick up Yumi's call because it's more important to get their revenge on Sissy.
Yes, it is. And Sissy gets her own revenge. For some reason, Odd directs Kiwi to walk back to his bedroom on his own, which seems like a great way for him to get caught. But Sissy follows him back.
Dogs are so indiscreet.
They are. Sissy follows him back and shuts him in the little drawer where he lives.
Side note, by the way, in future episodes, Kiwi is sort of portrayed as an idiot, but in this episode, he's very smart. He knows how to walk, home by himself, and he's for almost all of the episode, he's actually a very good dog. Like, he goes where Odd tells him to go, and he's a good sport, and, he walks next to Odd without a leash. And then later in the episode, we see him just sort of, like, lay down next to Odd's feet. It's very adorable. Kiwi, I think, is a very good doggo.
Yes,
He is a very
he's a
good
nice doggo.
It's very depending on the writer with him.
That's, you know what, I'm sure that's very true.
I'm thinking about it now. I'm sure there were people on staff that didn't like him very much.
Or they just wanted to milk some comedy out of Ulrich thinking that Kiwi was dumb, and Odd defending him emphatically.
Well, I guess when the first impression you get of a dog is that he's just peed on your bed.
Yeah.
Point.
Yeah. So either way, Yumi ends up finding them on campus, and they start joking around with her about what they've done, and she gets pissed off at them.
She's like, what does she say? I've been trying to reach you for 15 minutes. There's a XANA attack. Ulrich almost seems a little indignant. Like, wow, okay, geez. I'll go to the factory, gosh. And again, I tell myself, they're in middle school. But, like, what the F, dudes?
This is less responsible than they normally act. That's just a stone cold fact.
So much less
very,
responsible.
very much. Again, probably, writer's difference.
Either way, just before they could go, Jim walks up, and he's carrying a doggo.
And next to Jim is a very smug-looking sissy.
Right, so Jim drags Odd off, literally by the scruff of his neck, and Sissy walked away gloatingly. And Ulrich says, how could she do such a thing? And,
gee, Ulrich, I don't know.
Yeah. But they have bigger fish to fry, so they head off to the factory.
Jeremy says, like, well, where's Odd? And Yumi kind of casually says, well, Jim found out about...
he's in detention.
What's his face?
Because
Kiwi.
Jim found out about Kiwi.
Yeah. Oh, side note, when we see Odd in detention, Jim mentions that he has to be there because his parents are coming to pick up Kiwi. A couple episodes ago, he had to fly home to see his parents.
Right. Is he
so either they forgot, or he's going to be waiting there for quite some time, and he's going to have some pissed off parents.
He's also the only person in detention. Nobody else got detention that week.
Nope. Also, like, their parents, if they're waiting for his parents, they're going to have to pay, like, thousands of dollars to get there.
Thousands of euro.
Thousands of euros. So, yeah, they're going to be pissed.
I don't have a film theory for this one, guys. Sorry.
I think it just sort of is what it is. Either way, let's describe what goes on Lyoko while this is all happening.
It's the desert again.
The lamest of the sectors.
We should keep a track of, like, how many times we see each sector. We've only seen I think we've only seen the desert and the forest at this point.
We haven't seen
the ice sector, and we haven't seen the mountains. I think the mountains they go to the least.
Which is a shame, because they're my favorite.
No, they're amazing.
I vaguely remember seeing the mountains already, but every season 1 episode kind of blends together, so...
Yeah, I don't think we've seen the mountains yet. What was I gonna say?
Did you guys... Well... No, never mind. I know Mary didn't have the Code Lyoko Wii game, but there was a volcano sector in that. Lyoko had a volcano sector.
That's really cool.
The Wii game? I forgot about the video game. And then there was like a DS game too, wasn't there?
There were 2.
I don't recall them being very good video games.
Well, the one on Wii was better than a licensed game that came out when it did would normally be, but it was nothing to write home about.
Unfortunately. I think that, like, a high-quality Code Lyoko game would have been spectacular, but alas, it is not what we got.
You know what would have been cool? A Code Lyoko game in the style of The Wonderful 101, where you control the characters at the same time. That would have been cool.
That would be really cool.
Yep.
You know, Code Lyoko is almost itself a video game. You'd think it would be easy to translate over, but...
You'd think so. And actually, sometimes I admit the Lyoko action gets a bit repetitive. repetitive.
It's my least favorite part of the show.
It's especially true here, because they get into Lyoko, Ailea's right there. It's kind of a straight shot to the tower. But the most interesting thing about this one is that it's the first time we see the blocks.
The blocks are my favorite.
The blocks are wonderful.
I do want to say this. This is the first time that they are able to just go to the tower.
Yeah.
Like, they show up, Ailea's there, tower's over here, guys. They go to the tower. Oh, look, we can see it right there. And they even say, this looks too easy.
Yep. And then
blocks show
suddenly,
up.
4 blocks. And they're actually pretty formidable foes. Like, they don't get easier over time, even though they do stay pretty stupid.
The blocks we should describe, by the way, in case you have not yet watched the episode, are, in fact, giant cubes. They look like they're made out of stone.
They look like companion cubes with spider legs.
They do! That's exactly
do.
what they look like. And they have 4 faces, or at least, well, they technically have 6 because they're cubes, but they have 4 faces around, right? Mm-hmm. And each one of them has an eye of XANA. And correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe that 3 of the eyes of XANA shoot different weapons, and then the 4th one is the only one that you can hit for the instant kill.
Really?
Because that's like its brain.
Not quite. All 4 of them shoot different weapons, and you can hit any one of them.
Okay.
You know what's funny? I wonder why the Code Lyoko monsters are so abstract. You know? They don't look like animals. They're just kind of like weird.
That was probably intentional.
But I wonder why, though. Like, they would have so much more personality if they looked like some kind of creature and not...
You know what?
I think that's what made later the Scyphozoa so scary.
I think actually they try to have them have a personality. Later in the series, Cancrolots get very dumb and cute. The tarantulas, which we will not see until next season, are always very angry. Like, they roar. They take the time to do like battle cries and stuff.
What's funny about the tarantulas is that their eyes are actually at the very tip of their faces. You ever notice that?
Yes.
Those are eyes?
Those are eyes,
the little red glowing things.
I thought they were like weird nostrils.
I think those are their eyes.
I'm pretty sure they're eyes, yeah.
Oh, David, every episode you blow my mind with something. Oh.
Yeah, I'm special like that.
Yeah.
Oh, also creepers.
Creepers are great.
Oh, I forgot about the creepers. And the mantas. I like mantas too.
Mantas are good, even though...
They introduced so many new monsters in later seasons, including some that I'm sure I've forgotten. Like the shark-looking ones.
Oh,
the
yeah,
congers.
The sharks.
But they're not called sharks. They're called something else.
I can't quite remember what they're called. It's a French word.
It's like
we will get to them like a year and a half from now.
Yep.
Right. But as for the blocks and their 4 weapons, I should note this is not consistent from episode to episode, but this is the official take. One just shoots your standard laser, one eye. The other shoots, I think, rings of lasers? No.
I forgot about that. No, yes, rings of fire. And I think they only show up in 1, maybe 2 episodes. I forgot about those until literally just now when you started talking.
Ooh. When one of them shoots ice, and then I think, actually, Ben, you're right. One of them is just a brain.
Well, the other 2 are fire and ice.
Yeah.
Yeah, laser, fire, hoop, ice.
Right. There are some cool scenes later in where Yumi does acrobatics through the loops. It's pretty cool.
Yeah.
This is not one of them.
No, they're pretty standard here.
They're pretty standard. They fight the blocks. Ulrich does triplicate, and they both sort of get their butts kicked.
Yeah, like
Ulrich they don't last very long at all.
Yeah, immediately the Ulrich's 2 doubles get blasted away. The blocks, as a matter of fact, in this episode are the most efficacious monsters we have yet seen. Because they take out everybody so quickly. Even the Megatanks, which we are told to believe are the most powerful monsters, or maybe not told, but I think it certainly seems to be implied very strongly, the Megatanks have all been defeated, not handily, but defeated. But these blocks are the first very true shot threats that they have faced so far.
They are for sure. And we do see a Megatank later that gets... bested, but it's still pretty much a curb stomp. especially at this point, because at this point Ulrich's devirtualized and Yumi and Aelita are basically hiding. And before we get to the next part, let's go back to Odd, shall we?
Let's go back to Odd. So, he is in detention, and Jim is fighting to stay awake.
And he's reading a Batman comic book.
Is that... I knew he was reading a comic book. I couldn't tell who it was.
There's another episode later on where you can clearly see Mr. Incredible from The Incredibles in one of the comics that Jim is reading.
I didn't know that. Well,
really?
Yeah.
At least this time it's not one of his sumo magazines.
Oh, jeez. I forgot about the sumo magazines.
I wonder if his dream was to be a sumo wrestler.
It was about the only thing he didn't do.
Yeah, well said.
You weren't a sumo wrestler, Jim?
I don't want to talk about it.
You know what's great? Eventually we're going to get to talk about Paco, the King of Disco.
Oh my, I forgot.
Did I blow your mind too?
I'm so ashamed because until that moment I had forgotten Paco.
I had also forgotten Paco, the King of Disco.
It's one of the best things about the show. One of the best recurring side plots.
It is. Well, it only recurred like twice.
No, there were several episodes.
Either way, it is the highlight moment of Jim's entire life, I think.
Well, he's not proud of it.
He's not, but he should be.
to quote Moses Lack, he's done things he's not proud of, and the things he is proud of are disgusting. I wish I hadn't laughed. That's such a good joke.
So anyway, they're in detention. What Odd wants to do is take, air quotes, take Kiwi for a walk so he can do his doggy business. And Jim says, I'm not going to fall for that. Because if you go out with him, you're obviously just going to take off. So you're going to sit right there, and I'm going to take Kiwi out for a walk. And Jim and Kiwi leave.
Odd alone.
That's a good Jim moment, though.
It is. It's a quintessential Jim moment.
Because he's so confident. It's probably the best part of the entire episode.
I think Jim might be the most consistently portrayed adult in the series.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know?
He was pretty cruel in the beginning, I think, but he's still a buffoon.
He has since softened to his buffoonery level. He will never go back to cruel, as far as I know.
But he's not that cruel. He's just
he was stern and, you know,
especially in Teddy I guess.
Authoritative, yeah. In those first couple episodes, he was very gruff. You know, I'm the guy in charge of the grounds guy. But now he's, you know, turned into his lovely oaf self.
Pretty much.
He is my favorite character.
Yep. Predictably, Odd is gone, and then Kiwi pees all over the baseboard.
Yeah. And I forgot what I was going to say, so let's pretend I didn't say anything.
Okay.
I always pretend you didn't say anything.
Oh.
I didn't mean that. I didn't mean that.
Apologize, please.
I'm sorry.
Thanks, I guess. We'll call it good as long as you promise never to say that ever again.
Okay. I did put an unnecessary air of eroticism into it. That was not intentional.
I did not pick up on the air of eroticism. I was just more concerned with the. I'm not even going to repeat the word because it makes me uncomfortable. But
moving on.
So back to Lyoko. Yumi uses her telekinesis again, and one little thing that bothers me is sometimes they feel like they have to verbalize what they're about to do, and sometimes they don't.
Yeah.
So Yumi, while using her telekinesis here, says telekinesis, and that
feels
annoys
like an afterthought. Either way, they crush the remaining block. Actually, a pretty cool scene.
Can you imagine if she could only use telekinesis as long as she's saying the word telekinesis?
Telekinesis.
She has to stretch it out.
Telekinesis.
She has to stretch it out a lot, like.
Please, oh my goodness! Yeah. I'm just having that as canon now that she just mutters it under her breath constantly to keep herself focused.
That's why she gets a headache, is because she has to think the word telekinesis over and over and over and over, and over again.
That is the reason anime characters do what they do.
Yeah.
They
Another, I thought it was kind of cool, actually, thing. When Aelita is running from the megatank that suddenly appears out of nowhere.
Yes, the megatank suddenly appears out of nowhere, and Odd has shown up at this point. I'll leave it at that.
What Aelita does is she uses her power, and they're in the desert, right? So she uses her power to break apart the ground and lower the ground that she is on compared to the ground that the megatank is on. So when the megatank rolls toward her, it flies over her and goes behind her, so that Odd can then run up to her and protect her. And yes. I thought that was very strategic and clever.
It was, and all the while, Ulrich, Yumi, and Jeremy are outside, and they're telling Aelita, "You're crazy! You can't do this." But she just ruins this megatank's day, and while she hasn't quite become the sass queen that she will become, it's sort of the beginning.
Oh yeah, sassy Aelita.
I can't wait for Aelita to have a bigger role, because she adds so much to this group dynamic.
What I liked about her was how sweet she was. And then later, like halfway through season 4, she turns into a sass queen.
Well, everyone's personalities kind of went weird through season 4.
Like, I mean, hey, they're that age.
Yeah,
that's true. But yeah, no, Aelita is very sweet, and is it just me, or did she not really say much in this episode?
She did not. As a matter of fact, I'm not sure she says more than 1 or 2 words on Lyoko. She talks to Jeremy on the monitor, but I really don't think she talks much in Lyoko.
Which is really sad.
She doesn't even say anything like, "Welcome to our world."
I was gonna bring something up from that thing that doesn't exist. But it doesn't exist, so it's better not.
David, I tell you every single episode.
But it's relevant to what we're talking about.
Well, what is the relevant thing from the thing that doesn't exist?
In the first episode of the thing that does not exist, Aelita doesn't say a single word on Lyoko. Not one. Like,
that's weird.
It's just her.
Which is why it doesn't exist.
Yeah. The animation was so good, though, and they had that cool Batmobile that they all rode around in. That was kind of nice.
They would if it had existed, but it didn't.
Fair enough.
Fair enough, indeed. Either way, Aelita gets safely to the tower. Odd defends her from the megatank blast, and of course, what? He
leaps for the first time. Not only is it in ridiculous, tense, slow motion in the real world when the crisis is about to hit ahead. It's slow motion as the megatank is shooting at Aelita, and Odd's running in slow motion to get in the way of the megatank laser, and I'm just like, wow, they're really laying it on thick. What, did they run out of content and have to stretch it out?
And that is probably it.
Yep. Odd stops the megatank blast in the nick of time, and Aelita... Which, by the way, she runs to the tower, which I always say, like, why can't she just do this every time?
She did stop short a little earlier.
Yeah, she doesn't listen to me. They never listen to me. I yell at the TV.
Yeah,
but
no, me too.
They just don't hear me.
Which is very sad. And then, as we mentioned earlier, we get back to the same scene with Sissy entering the garden shed, except this time they've quote-unquote improved the prank by, instead of having Kiwi take one for the team, they texted Herb.
Oh. And so Sissy opens the door and she says something like, Ulrich, dear, are you ready to be alone together or something? And she opens, and then Herb practically falls on her, and he says, "Oh, Sissy, I love you too."
He literally falls on her.
Yeah. And Sissy is like, "What the..." I don't know what she says, but she's freaking out.
What they did, in essence, is trick her into committing sexual assault.
Oh,
when you think about it.
I didn't think about it like that.
Well, he kisses her. He flings himself on top of her and kisses her.
He kissed her?
He did, didn't he?
I think he tried to.
I think he tried to.
But it's
he certainly fell on her.
It's a scientific fact that a good slap will keep your cheek warm.
Yes, that's in a later episode, which, oh man, I remember that fondly. I've seen Cold War so many times.
I'm seeing a Cold War happen right now outside.
Yeah,
but,
I was going to say it's more fun when you're not living one.
Yeah. Oh. Anyway, come Lyoko.
To the aliens that will eventually discover this podcast, the charred remains of the Earth. Hello.
Hi.
How are you doing, aliens?
Please watch Code Lyoko. It's the greatest thing that humanity ever did. Besides give birth to me.
Besides give birth to me and David and Ben.
But mainly Ben.
No.
Now. So yes, they all have a hearty and highly uncharacteristic laugh.
They take a picture of Herb on top of Sissy.
Oh yeah.
And they say they're gonna give it to Millie and Tamia for their paper, and they even say this will be a scoop. And every time they say the word scoop, I think of Super Scoop, and my soul cringes a little bit.
Me too. What's
wrong with Super Scoop?
It's a cringe-worthy word, I think.
Oh.
Which, if you think about it, okay, they're giving Millie and Tamia something to get revenge with, but it still just feels so wrong.
Yeah, this episode is, on the whole, much more immature than most other Code Lyoko episodes.
Yeah,
it is. I'm trying to remember an episode where they handled this kind of situation a little better, but then I realized that from season 2 onward, William is there, and Ulrich just acts like a complete dolt.
Oh, yeah.
He acts realistically, though. That is how a boy would act if he thought somebody else was putting the moves on his girl, you know?
Yeah, except that Yumi isn't his girl.
But he thinks she is.
He does, for sure. I'm trying to think. Like, was there a time when Sissy did something really boneheaded and they handled it a lot better?
I'm not sure.
I'm not sure
There
either.
must be, given who Sissy is and what she's like.
I guess my first thought was, is there anybody out there? And that's the one with...
Is that the one with the seance?
Yes, with Leon Corvée.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, that episode. That's a classic. That's
the episode where Sissy paints a pentagram in red on the floor. Oh, you've got a lot to look forward to, dear listener, because we have not even yet begun.
So, on a scale from 1 to 10...
I'm going to give this one a solid 5. This is not a terrible episode of Code Lyoko, but it is not a good episode of Code Lyoko.
I don't remember what I gave Holiday in the Fog, but this one's a little better than that. So, Holiday in the Fog plus 1 out of 10.
I would give it between a 4 and a 5.
Really?
Maybe I'm alone in thinking this, just the prank really rubbed me the wrong way.
Well, you're not alone, but I think it affected you more than it did me.
Do you know something?
What?
Now, this won't be too relevant to the listeners, but we're recording this on April Fool's Day. This episode
you're right.
with such a prominently
April
featured
Fish!
prank.
Oh, it's April Fish Day!
Let me look up the exact context of the French version of April Fool's Day, so I don't get it wrong.
It's April Fish.
You're April Fish.
A little bit.
Poisson?
Only sometimes.
Oh, this is actually a brand new article. It was just posted a few days ago.
No kidding.
Yes. A Poisson d'Arville is a joke made on April 1st. In France, children try to stick a fish picture on their friend's back. When the joke is discovered, they shout, Poisson d'Arville. Where this habit comes from is not certain. There are several theories, but why it's a fish remains pretty much a mystery.
Huh.
What does that French phrase mean?
April Fish.
That they say
April Fish.
April
Poisson
Fish.
d'Arville.
Okay, that's weird. French people are weird.
We do it better. Americans do it better.
Yeah. Thank you for joining us for French People Are Weird, the podcast.
We need a good solid prank with to prank our listeners. And any ideas?
I'm not a big fan of April Fool's pranks.
Plus, they're going to hear this on a day that's not April Fool's Day, and that's, you can't do an April Fool's prank. That makes it a better prank.
Oh, by the way, dear listener, did you know that you have a secret admirer? They want to meet you in the woodshed.
Pay no mind to the...
They want to show you a romantic experience in the moonlight.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Bring your fishing rod.
That reminds me of a scene we didn't comment on. Right at the beginning of the episode, when the Sissy and her friends and Ulrich and his friends are having their little mini fights. How did it go? Ulrich says something about how Sissy should be a dog trainer because how well she controls Nicholas.
Oh, yes.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, and Nicholas, he does, this tough guy stance, oh, I'm gonna beat him up. I'm gonna pop a Kevin's ass. Yes. I just thought that was really funny. Hold me back, bro.
There are several times in this episode where they compare Nicholas and Herb to dogs, or imply that they are lesser than dogs. And I think, honestly, that's one of the more understated, cruel things about this episode.
Oh, man. Oh, I didn't even think of that. Dang.
Now that I think about it, that is really cruel.
It really is.
Yeah.
It's real bad.
Episode 5, Middle Schoolers Are Cruel.
Yep, it is. And the next one is, Cruel Dilemma, which I remember being a lot better, because it gets a lot more into the emotional tension.
Yeah.
Which is...
Yeah,
It's the first one that really gets into the tension of the virtualization.
It's the one... Is that the one where, Jeremy virtualizes a single hair? One of Aelita's hairs, and he puts it in the vial?
I think it is.
No, that's Just in Time. That's later.
Oh. How do you remember all this, Mary?
Well, I'm looking at the episode guide right now.
Oh.
Oh, you cheater.
I wasn't cheating.
Cheater!
Pumpkin eater?
Yes.
Cheater.
I'm not cheating. What was I going to say? No, it's the one where Odd spills
Mary,
candy on
you
Jeremy's...
sounded really sad when you said that.
Oh, that's the one with the... Oh, yeah.
I'm okay, David. I'm okay.
Okay.
No, it's the one where Odd spills candy on Jeremy's keyboard and accidentally creates the virtualization program, but it only works once. And he has to choose whether to virtualize Aelita or save Yumi? ?
The digital C will come into effect.
Then I believe that is the first time that we explicitly learn... Well, not the first time we learn about it, but we really find out, what the story is behind it. And you have that to look forward to, dear listener.
Yes, you do, in about a week's time. And until then, I am Mary.
I am David.
And I'm pretty sure I'm Ben.
Super. You. Aaliyah.
On me dit que je ne suis qu'un bon à rien, un vrai loser. Et d'un mot qui sonne, je ne suis plus dans le coup. Une flèche au cœur, je fais plus partie du show. Tirer le rideau, éteignez les lumières. Qu'est-ce que je peux faire? Coincé sur ma chaise, déchaînez-moi, on va s'envoler. Le plus fort s'envoler. Retrouver le soleil. Si déjà parti, les ailes en bataille d'un ange déchu.
Hello guys, this is Mary here. I just realized as I was editing this that there are a few housekeeping things I forgot to mention, as I should have. For one thing, if you want to get in touch with us, you can find us on Twitter at RTTP Podcast, that's RTTP and then the word podcast, or you can email us at rttppodcast@gmail.com. I haven't checked the email inbox in a while, so if you happen to have sent us a question, we will answer it on the next episode. Or rather, hold on, I could probably send you a response and then also answer it on the air if you want, come to think of it. And I also wanted to remind you all that our cover art was done by Ingram. You can find their work at ingramcomics.com. That's INGRAM comics with an X.com. Or you can find them on Twitter at Ingram Comics. Okay, thanks guys. Bye-bye.